Welcome back to today's podcast episode. We're going to dive into something I see constantly. And also, this podcast episode is coming directly from a coaching conversation I had this week, which I know many of you are going to resonate with. You're a high achieving woman. Find yourself in my world. You're usually coming with an attachment to tracking, whether it's calories, it's macros, or following certain rules of yes or no when it comes to fueling your body, moving your body, feeling good in your body. And it's this belief that if you can just make the math work, that your body's finally going to cooperate. And I wanted to share what unfolded in the conversation that I had with my client, because it's exactly why intelligent, fully capable women stay stuck in this cycle. And more importantly, what actually needs to happen to break free from this. So let's talk about the numbers game, the broken promises of diet culture, and what it really means to feel good in your skin. So let me paint this picture for you. When high achieving women walk into my world using calorie counting and tracking as your primary tool, there are telltale signs that I know right away. First, you feel very safe within strict structure. The yeses and the nos, the rights and the wrongs, using perfectionism as a way to feel safe in your actions. When really this is just pre-creating the same thing that happens over and over again. If counting calories or tracking macros, following a diet, looking at the amount of calories you've burned on your watch has ever really worked for you in the past, probably not, right? Probably why you are listening to the podcast today. If it hasn't worked in the past, maybe we could consider that it's probably not going to work in the future. Now, there are some people, and you may look towards these people as evidence that this works for you, right? Because there are people who respond to this, and those are the people that just need to know some information and can quickly make the behavior adjustments afterwards. If you're listening to this today and any of this has been resonating to you, that's not you, and that's okay, because that's not actually very many humans in this world. Many times we're looking at people on the internet that have been successful in this way, and they're probably going to be the ones that are teaching you to do it this way, follow this instruction, do this macro split, give you very strict parameters or protocol to go by. And that has worked for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will work for all humans. And really, it's not going to work for most humans, if I'm being completely honest, because we're really good at knowing. We're not great at embodying. And that is where this work really is. Because when we try to get away from the embodiment and only work from the mind, we continue to create this cycle over and over again. So I'm going to invite you to reflect on this. How many times have you done this in the past? How many times have you used right or wrong answers, yeses and nos? And I want you to think about it as like outsourcing your actions to somebody else, right? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I myself am guilty of this as well. I used to be guilty of this in my health and following diets, being very much so into diet culture, always trying to outrun and outthink my own body. And then I moved from my health into my business. Just if you can hear squeaking in the background, that is my dog. And he's playing so cutely with this little raccoon toy, and I just can't take it away because he looks very happy. So you're going to hear maybe some squeaking in the background. And I don't like to lock him out of my office because that makes me feel sad, and him as well. So we're just going to listen to squeaking on the episode today. So back to what I was saying was that I used to do this in my health, and then I just copied and pasted it right over into my business. Just give me the business strategy and I'll do it, right? We're not bad at working. We're really good at working. And that's usually the problem. We can work, we can think, but we don't actually embody it. And when this happens, this will work for a short amount of time when we just work from the mind and we just think about outworking. But we know it actually doesn't work long term. Yet we continue to engage in these actions over and over again because we often think, well, what else is there to do? And this is where my client's breakthrough became so powerful. She said something in our call that made me stop in my tracks. I thought I knew how to take care of myself, but now I really know how. So what's the difference between thinking you know how and actually knowing how to take care of yourself? This is simply the knowledge from your mind. We are all very smart. We are all educated. We know up to this point because education is around everywhere, social media, podcasts, forums, there's you can know anything you want about any possible subject in our lives, but there isn't actual embodiment teaching. The embodiment teaching is the work that you do within the knowledge. It's you becoming that person without a whole lot of effort. It's the work within the body. It's the action within your body. It's the alignment within the body. And the action feels like you versus you trying to fit yourself into the action. When this happens, you know it because you just are this person. This is part of you now. It's not a lot of work. It's not a lot of thought. It's not micromanaging your actions, thoughts, and behaviors. You just naturally follow through with the actions that you wanted to do that make you feel really good in your body. You've probably noticed that you've created this pattern in some way, shape, or form before. Like, for an example, when we become mothers, like when we first find out we're pregnant, or we first find out that a baby might be arriving to us, if you are a mother, we think about being mothers. And when we're little girls, we might think about being mothers, about the actions we would do if we were going to be a mom, about how we would feel, and about how would we hold our baby, and how we would just be as a mother. But we don't actually embody being a mother until we become the mother, until we have the baby in our arms, until we have the responsibilities that are handed off to us by having a baby. We slowly become a mother. Many of us also don't always feel like a mom as soon as we find out that we're pregnant. Some of us don't even feel like a mom yet when we actually have our baby in our arms. It takes a while to embody that role, that being of us within the mother role. And that's the same thing when you're trying to embrace the highest, healthiest version of yourself as well. So let's go a little bit deeper into what my client described. She also said, I always needed this to be a math game. She was motivated by the calorie deficit, right? And we are told this through our activity trackers, if we track our foods on an app, that if you follow this calorie deficit, if there's this much numbers, then it will happen. And so then we go into obsessively tracking because it's the only way we know how to make progress. And also it feels like this promise has been made to us. But from a nervous system perspective, what's actually happening when a woman goes into this default level of control and tracking is that this attachment to perfectionism to feel safe within the numbers. Numbers and data really do help us feel safe, because there's no interpretation. There's no fluidity. The numbers are the numbers, and we get to feel safe with them. But there's a broken promise that has been sold to us with numbers. If we just follow the numbers, if we just create this calorie deficit, if we just remove the carbohydrates, if we just do this one thing, then the result will have to be the goal that you have. So let's say it is weight loss. We have this belief that it has to happen if we follow these rules. That obsessive tracking, calories, macros, or following the rules and structure of a diet lead us to believe that the end result will have to be the thing that it has promised us. Usually it's going to be weight loss, but that's not actually true at all. It's diet culture that has sold us this in a beautifully nice packaged marketing container. And we're so used to seeing it. We're so used to outsourcing our body, outsourcing our health, that we just take it for what it is. If somebody says it, we just believe it. The reason why we just believe it is because we want to escape our current situation so bad. We want to hand it off to somebody else, a company, a supplement, a protocol, so that we don't have to be within this lived experience of where we currently are. We get to live in the future experience of hoping that the future version of us has it figured out. The future version of us isn't stuck in gaining and losing weight and gaining and losing weight, and that allows us to escape our current situation. Our current situation often feels miserable. We feel guilty, we might feel remorseful, confused about what to do, and we just want to escape this body. And an easy way to escape this body is finding more rules, more structure, and a way to outsource our decision making. And the cost of that outsourcing is never feeling at home in your body, never feeling like your skin is comfortable. continuing to chase the same thing over and over again. And I want to invite you to really ask yourself, do you really want to be done with this chase? Because when you say you're done with the chase, but you don't actually want to be done with the chase, it looks like when you stop outsourcing your decisions and you start going into body wisdom, being intuitive, and helping yourself make your own decisions, you quickly want to escape the discomfort of making your own decisions, of being discerning, and of being intuitive in your own body. Because when you give up chasing this, when you give up outsourcing, you are also left with yourself. And when you are left with the parts of yourself that you have been running from for years, when you meet that, it's uncomfortable. It's something that you have been trying to avoid. So when I say, do you want to be done with this? I always want to reflect it back to you. Are you really ready to be done with this? Because just saying we're going to be done with it is one thing, and actually being done and being willing to meet the parts of us that we have been trying to escape for most of our lives, the parts of us that feel unloved, the parts of us that feel neglected, the parts of us that feel abandoned, the parts of us that are deeply neglected, those parts will need to be tended to. Those are the parts that in the past you haven't tended to them. Instead, you've tried to outwork them, either in your day-to-day work, in your business, with your family, being a mother, and also being attached to rules and how to live your life. There was this pivotal moment in this coaching call with my clients when she said, I just made it a priority. Not the water, not the foods, but herself. And I want you to hear this, was that it sounds like I made drinking water a priority. I made making my meals a priority. I made moving my body a priority. I made nervous system regulation a priority. Those weren't the things she made a priority. She made herself a priority. She began to see herself as the indispensable, most important thing in her life, which then allowed her to prioritize herself. And this is where something really beautiful happened in our conversation. And this is where I began to help her see, because we can start to see ourselves doing the right things, but oftentimes we don't really understand why we are. And that is a confusing part of transformation. We're like, I am doing the things. And then we don't really take a step back to say what has actually changed here so that we can make it repeatable. Because many times we'll make progress and then we stop and we're like, but I don't actually know how I was making progress before. I don't know why it was working before. I just did it. But that's why coaching is so important and so helpful, because you're able to have somebody reflect back to you, this is actually what's happening in real time. This is why it's working. And why it's working is because she's building trust. She's building trust by trusting her body more, and her body is also trusting her more. The relationship has become reciprocable. That's a hard word. The relationship has become reciprocated. So let me explain how this trust works between you and your body and why it matters. Because many times we feel like our body is the problem and that our body is just rebelling against us and that it has a mind of its own and that it doesn't actually care about us. It just does whatever it wants. But the truth is that your body loves you unconditionally and it wants to trust you, and that you will feed it when it asks to be fed, and that you will listen to it when it gives you symptoms, and that you will hear it when it tells you to rest, and that you will move your body when it asks to be moved. And whether you're feeling like rather itchy or like movie in your skin and you're like, I just need to move my body. The other part is this, is when you do this, you hear your body. You hear the cues from your body. You begin to trust that when your body talks to you, your body is not making things up. Your body is not out there to get you or to set you up terribly to rest, to take a nap, and then something you're going to totally mess up, or you're going to gain weight by resting and taking a nap, or that you're going to lose out on work. When you let go of this, you begin to have the relationship with your body to trust it. And on the other side of it, your body trusts you as well, because your body is sending you cues many times and you don't hear them because you're busy overworking, you're busy overriding, and you're busy over functioning. And if you have any relationship in your life where you constantly override it, like to a coworker, and you would say to your coworker, that's not important. Your opinions don't matter. I know what you said, but I'm not going to do that right now. That coworker does not trust you that you will ever do anything that the coworker requests or talks about or gives you opinions on. Your coworker is going to stop asking for help, and your body does the same thing. And this is why it feels like our body is this separate thing from us and that it just does whatever it wants. But can you see why it feels that way? It's not actually doing that. What it's actually doing is that it's adjusting because it loves you so much and it's trying to protect you. But it can feel like this separate thing from you because it's doing these things. But the truth is, we just need to start listening and start creating the actions that allow your body to trust you again. This is also so important for women in midlife to understand, because when your body doesn't have to worry anymore that you're starving, that you're depriving it of something it needs, that it's actually a resource. This relates to your cortisol, to your hormones, and why women in perimenopause struggle so much with traditional diet approaches. Because once we reach midlife, typically after 35, but some women maybe won't notice this shift until their 40s, the consistent action to show our bodies that it's safe through eating whole foods, well-balanced blood sugar stability, sending the message to the body that it's safe. And when it feels safe, it actually doesn't need to overproduce cortisol to go find resources in your body or create more nervous system dysregulation to get your attention to do something differently. And what this will feel like is that you would feel, if cortisol was running the show, if adrenaline was running the show, you feel very reactive in your day. You feel rather out of control. And this is just your body trying to get your attention. But what it feels like for you is that you can't get your shit together, that you're really reactive, that you're eating lots of sugar, or that you're yelling at your family, or you're feeling frustrated at your computer. And it just feels like nothing is working well for you in your day to day. And many times this is hormonally related. And it's hormonally related from simple things that your body is just asking you to do to keep it alive and safe. But if you go online and you follow any sort of weight loss program, or you buy a weight loss supplement, or whatever the thing is out there that is a new shiny object, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do, what to eat, when to eat, how to track your macros specifically, or your calories, or eat this food or don't eat that food. And it's not taking your hormones as a perimenopausal woman into consideration. And that's why traditional approaches don't work anymore after 35 or 40. That's why when you've been doing the same thing most of your life, and by all means of consideration, they're healthy practices, right? They're healthy, standard Western diet culture practices. You probably move your body several times a week. You probably eat vegetables. You probably eat protein. You probably eat most meals throughout the day that are relatively healthy by all forms of measurement, right? But your body is asking for a different way to approach this now. So, what does this actually look like when it shifts in real life? When you start to embody these practices and you start to become this person, is that you let go of one of the most tangible things you have been attached to for most of your life, and that's the scale. The thing that you have been allowing to tell you if you're good or you're bad, if you're right or if you're wrong, if you're on the right track or if you're on the right track, because you become the person that now just feels good in your skin. You begin to source your relationship with your body instead of outsourcing to the scale. Because we step on the scale expecting it to tell us if we've been good or bad, and it determines how we feel about ourselves for the rest of the day. But when you don't need to step on the scale to know if you've been good or bad, and you just know you feel so good in your skin, it doesn't matter what the scale says. That is true freedom in your body. And here's what this looks like in real time is that my client had said to me that she now collects information from the week about her energy, her digestion, overall how she feels, her stress in her body, her cycle, her sleep, This is nervous system attunement in real life, in real action throughout the day. This allows you to see your body in real time, adjusting to the actions that you're doing in real time versus stepping on that scale every morning or once a week, telling us if we're doing it right. Now we're using the cues from our body to tell us, hey, I like this, or hey, let's make an adjustment. Because many times we wait until we're in crisis mode or until everything has piled up to start paying attention. But when you start feeling your body all the time, you're always collecting data and information from your body telling you, yeah, things are good here. Or, hey, let's pivot this way. I need your attention on XYZ. And when we do this, we get to create the little shifts in our day to day that feel like such a minor thing to do versus waiting until everything piles up. And then we feel like we have so much to do, and it's very daunting. But I want to be clear about something when I say this. This doesn't mean that you need to be in crisis mode to start this work. In fact, the women I work with are very high functioning. You're managing a business, a family, responsibilities. You're not actually falling apart. You're just tired of the constant override, the constant chase, the constant feeling that your body isn't working with you or doesn't really feel like yours anymore. This work is doable. It's not about overhauling your entire life. It's about small, consistent actions that allow your body to finally trust you again. So if you're resonating with all of this and it's hitting all the marks, I am hosting a masterclass today on Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Tuesday when it's released at noon, but there's also a class this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's called the Midlife Reset. And it's specifically for women who are doing all the traditional things, are quote unquote healthy by all ways of our traditional measurement, but something doesn't feel right. And it isn't working the way that it used to work anymore. And you just don't feel like the skin you're in is yours. So what you can do is you can go to the show notes to sign up for the class, or you can go to my website, mindfullywell.com/midlife to sign up for that class. Again, you can come today, Tuesday at noon, or you can come Thursday at 6:30 Central Standard Time. And then from there, if you're ready to go deeper, my coaching program is going to be open for enrollment at that time as well. You can also find out more about that by going to mindfullywell.com and click work with me so you understand what my coaching program is, and so you can be ready to schedule a call with me to talk about more in detail about where you are now and where you want to be and if this is the right fit for you. Because here's what I know. I know that you don't need more rules. I know that you don't need more tracking. You don't need an exact protocol telling you what to do, when to do it. You need to build trust with your body. You need to meet the parts of yourself that you've been outrunning. And you need to source your relationship with your body instead of outsourcing it. That's the thing that you've been missing. And that's the thing that will put everything together beautifully. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week.